And let's look into the highlights of the budget, and it is called as the Arthashastra Budget 2024. And what makes the current interim budget important is that there is this Viksit Bharat by 2047. So our government aims India to be a developed economy or developed nation by 2047. So that is the highlight of this budget. So the vision with which the current interim budget has been presented is that prosperous Bharat in harmony with nature, modern infrastructure, and opportunities for all. So there is inclusion and opportunity, which is being inclusion from all level, all categories of population, and opportunities for all. So this is the main highlight of the current budget. And Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. This was the first stage. So there is inclusion for all and growth for all. There is comprehensive development for all, and then added Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, or Sabka Vishwas. This was the next term which was added by the current government. And right now, Sabka Prayas also. So there are 4 areas which our finance minister had highlighted as part of Viksit Bharat by 2047. It is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas, or Sabka Prayas. So trinity of demography, democracy, and diversity, which is backed by Sabka Prayas. So it's basically inclusion and equity for every community and every person in the country and every sector of the country, so that India becomes a developed nation by 2047. So that is the aim with which the current budget has been presented. And there is another term called Amrit Kal, which has been repeatedly mentioned by the finance minister during her budget speech. And this budget was given on 1st February 2022. So we are making Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and have entered into Amrit Kal, the 25-year long lead up to India at 100. This was her statement. The budget lays, she also said that the budget lays a parallel track of a blueprint for Amrit Kal, which is futuristic and inclusive, directly benefiting the youth, women, farmers, and the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. Now, if you would have heard the speech given by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 75th Independence Day, he was saying that India has entered into Amrit Kal. So, which means that 75th to the 100th year, we have already entered the 75th year of independence, and coming 25 years, that is 75th to the 100th year of independence, will be Amrit Kal for India, which means that will be an age for major changes. So this budget is actually a blueprint for Amrit Kal. That is what our finance minister was saying. And prior to understanding these aspects, we should also get into a glimpse into the 2023 budget, which was presented by Nirmala Sitharaman. She refers to 4 castes that Prime Minister was mentioning in December 2023. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when interacting with beneficiaries of Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra, he was saying that मेरे लिए देश की सबसे बड़ी 4 जातियां है, like 4 castes. He says there are 4 important castes for me when I consider my nation. मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी जाति है गरीब. So he says that the people in poverty or the poor, that is the first caste. मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी जाति है युवा, youth. He says that the youth is very important for him. मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी जाति है महिलाएं. So he says women are another important caste for me. And मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी जाति है किसान, farmers. So when you see this current interim budget has focused on these 4 areas, that is the poor, the farmers, the women, and youth. These are the 4 major categories or the castes that Narendra Modi, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had mentioned in his interaction during December 2023. So this interim budget has actually focused on these 4 areas. So he says, or our country believes that only by focusing on this 4 areas or these 4 categories of people in the country, we'll be able to reach into a developed nation. And for that, the current budget has given focus areas, 4 major focus areas: Garib Kalyan, Desh Ka Kalyan. So if you focus at the Garib, and give them kalyan. Kalyan means prosperity. Then desh ka kalyan hoga, and which means the country will be in prosperity. And there needs to be empowerment of the youth. Nari Shakti, women empowerment is important, and also welfare of farmers. They are the annadata, so welfare of farmers has to happen. So these four areas have been these are the main focus areas which has been focused in the interim budget. Now, how are these focus areas being achieved, or how is the development being achieved? There needs to be strategies. So strategies for Amrit Kal is there. So main strategies that our government is going to focus is on sustainable development, and there is infrastructure and investment like railways and many other health sectors. So there is a lot of infrastructure and investment development which has been presented, and inclusive development like health, housing and tourism for the major sectors of and major population of the country. Inclusive development in terms of health, housing and tourism, and focusing on agriculture and food processing units. So by focusing on these strategies, namely sustainable development, infrastructure and investment, inclusive development, and agriculture and food processing, these four areas, which is Garib Kalyan, empowerment of youth, Nari Shakti and welfare of farmers will be achieved. And if this is achieved, India will be a developed country by 2047. That is what has been projected or has been envisioned as part of the interim budget of 2024. So when looking at the interim budget, there is also another aspect that Ms. Sitaraman has presented. She was saying our budget is an outcome budget and not an outlays budget. It is an outcome budget and not outlays budget. Now, what is the difference between outcome budget and an outlays budget? Budget can be categorized into three aspects. One is outlays budget. We can have output budgets and we can have outcome budgets. So initially, it was all outlays budget that India had, which means, for example, the government will say that we have allocated 1,000 crore rupees or 1 billion rupees for the government schools or for the education sector, for building new schools, for hiring teachers and providing textbooks. So it mentions only about the allocation of funds for each sector, say schools and education. And that comes under outlays budget. Now there is another budget called the output budget. Output budget, what it focuses is that apart from this allocation of funds, it will also measure the tangible results. For example, there will be an investment of 1 billion Indian rupee to the education sector of the country. And as part of that, 100 schools will be constructed, 10,000 teachers will be recruited, etc. Such aspects, if the government is presenting as part of the budget, that budget will be termed as an output budget. So there is a measures in tangible units. So there is a very clear idea of the measurement, how the outcome or the output will be analyzed. Now we have the outcome budget. Outcome budget will also talk about the broader impact of the initiative. Say if we invest 1 billion into new schools and constructing new schools and bringing in new teachers and building 100 schools, the country's literacy rate will increase from this, say 4% to 7%. And the quality of teachers will increase from this percentage to this percentage. The quality of student output will increase by this percentage to this percentage. So such aspects will be presented in the budget. So if you see, the current budget, which has been presented by our finance minister, is actually an outcome budget. So she has presented in many areas of the budget. She has actually presented the broader impact of each of the initiatives. So she has said that our interim budget is not just an outlays budget, it is also an outcome budget. So that is also an important thing that you people need to understand while preparing for your examinations. And as part of the interim budget, Ms. Nirmala Sitaraman has presented how the rupees comes from which all areas and how the rupee goes in the Indian economy. So if you see, as per the latest report or as per the highlights of the budget 2024, the finance minister said that 19% of Indian rupee comes from Indian income tax, 19%, and 28% comes from borrowings and other liabilities. 5% comes from union excise and duties, 17% from corporation tax, 18% of the income is from GST and other taxes. Non-receipt taxes constitute 7% of the rupees income. Non-debt capital receipts 1% and customs 4%. So these are the major areas from which Indian rupee comes. So if you see the highest percentage is from borrowings and other liabilities, that is 28%, followed by income tax, which is 19% of the Indian rupee comes from Indian income tax. This is very closely followed by GST and other taxes 18% and corporation tax 17%. So if you see, these are the four major areas which constitute the Indian rupee income of the government. And where does these rupee go? It goes to pension. 4% goes to pension, 9% goes to other expenditures, 20% goes to interest payments of the government, 8% goes to centrally sponsored schemes, 6% to subsidies, 8% to the defense, 16% to central sector schemes, 8% to finance commission and other transfers, and 20% to states' share of taxes and duties. So if you see, the highest percentage of rupee which it goes to is in terms of interest payments, which is 20%, and also state's share of taxes and duties, 20%. This is followed by central sector scheme 16%, and the others are all in one-digit numbers. So you should have a broad understanding of the major areas from where rupee comes and major areas to which rupee goes. That is the income outflow. The income inflow and income outflow has been presented by the finance minister during this interim budget.